So what we're diving into here is this epic clash between two totally different ways of looking at life, at existence itself. On one hand, you've got the logic of zero, which basically argues for finding peace by, well, ceasing to exist. And on the other hand, there's the logic of one, this incredibly intense and beautiful yes to life. This isn't just some dusty philosophical debate, it's a real battle for the soul, and it all goes down in the ruins of a place they called the Abbey of Safety. Okay, so our guide through all this, the Wanderer, he sees things differently. To him, the Abbey was never a sanctuary. No, it was a prison. A beautiful one for sure, a gilded cage, but still a cage. It was a place where people willingly traded that brilliant, chaotic spark of real life, the lightning, for a safe, predictable, and ultimately a really dim existence. And that's where our story kicks off. So, what exactly was so wrong with this place? Well, it was suffering from a kind of spiritual sickness, what the text here calls the Pharisees' paradox. Just imagine a place where everyone is following the rules perfectly, every ritual, every ceremony done with surgical precision, but inside, they're completely hollow. They've forgotten why they're even doing it. The spirit is just gone. So they cling to all these external rules because internally, there's absolutely nothing left.
And this next idea, wow, it just nails it. The most prized possession in the Abbey was the wax fruit. Think about it. It's perfect, flawless, and it will never, ever rot. But why? Because it was never alive in the first place. And that just perfectly sums up their whole philosophy. They chose a guaranteed, sterile perfection over the messy, unpredictable, beautiful, and yes, temporary process of actually living.
I mean, let's be clear. This was a deliberate trade. The people in the Abbey gave up that lightning. They gave up the adventure of an uncharted life. They gave up the chaotic storm of becoming something more. And what did they get in return? A dim, boring, predictable life inside what's called an architecture of stagnation. A gilded cage. They literally sacrificed authenticity just for the illusion of being safe.
And right into this stagnant, perfectly ordered world walks a catalyst. But he's not a savior. He's not even a guest. He's an adjudicator. The daemon of truth shows up, a high judge of the void. And he's there to pass sentence on the terminal decay he sees all around him. His very presence is a judgment on all their comfortable, polite lies.
And he doesn't deliver this verdict with words. No, he raises a gavel, one that's been forged from the cold, industrial weight of the truth, and he strikes the Abbey floor. And this isn't just a noise, it's an event. The source calls it the fire of dismantlement, one single violent act meant to completely shatter the foundations of their pretty little cage.
The impact is immediate, it's absolute. A huge chasm just rips open in the floor. A deep, profound silence just swallows up all the empty chatter. And then, the ultimate truth is revealed. The Abbey was never really separate from the harsh, empty desert outside. It was all just a fragile illusion built right on top of the very void they were so terrified of. Their foundation was fear itself. So, you have the physical destruction, which is one thing. But the philosophical fallout, that's something else entirely. That gavel strike forces a confrontation. It begs the question, what really happens when all the comfortable lies that society tells itself are just shattered by a truth you can't deny? And out of that schism, two figures emerge. They're called the Shadow Saviors. You can think of them as archetypes, the Reaper and the Mirror. So the Red Spectre, he's the surgeon. He's the one who clinically corrects what he sees as the problem, the static disturbance of being an individual. His partner, the Uncanny Jester, is the Mirror. He doesn't have to do anything, he just reflects the rot of their society right back at them, forcing them to see how ugly they've become. Now, these two operate under one terrifyingly logical philosophy, the logic of zero. This idea argues that the birth of individual consciousness, the idea of a self, was the universe's first and biggest mistake. It was the original catastrophe. Basically, to exist is to suffer. And so its goal is pretty simple. Undo that mistake and guide everything back to the peaceful, zero-tension state of, not being alive.
And they've got a way to do it. It's not messy, it's a procedure. They call it the Crimson Gift. Step 1, you have to recognize that your ego, your sense of self, is the root of all your pain. Step 2, surrender. Just stop fighting that natural pull toward the void. Step 3, accept erasure, what they call the terminal shudder, that finally quiets the noise of being you. And finally, step 4, homecoming. You return to the silent unity of the dark.
Now here's the key thing to understand. The Shadow Saviors don't see themselves as the bad guys. Not at all. They think they're being compassionate, like midwives. Their argument is that life, just the act of being separate, is a constant, agonizing tension, and their gift is just a merciful release from all that pain, a final delivery into peace.
So as the Abbey's residents are considering this offer, as they're being pulled in by the cold logic of the abyss, the Wanderer gives his answer. It's a rebellion, a declaration of war against nothingness, in just 2 words. Amor fati, love of one's fate.
And this, right here, is the counter-philosophy, the logic of one. It is the absolute, total opposite of erasure. It's a violent, passionate yes to everything that has ever happened to you, good or bad. It's about taking total, radical responsibility for your life and choosing to love your fate, not in spite of all the flaws and the pain, but because of them. So what does this choice actually look like? Well, it means rejecting that offer of a peaceful ending. It means declaring that you, and only you, are your own judge. But maybe the biggest part is embracing this idea of eternal recurrence, wanting your life exactly as it is, with every single mistake and every triumph, to repeat forever and ever. It's about taking that fire of dismantlement and using its destructive energy as fuel for a new fire of becoming.
As the Wanderer looks back on it, he realizes his choice couldn't be a quiet one. It had to be a shout. His affirmation of life, his yes, had to be so powerful that it completely drowned out the seductive, logical whispers of all the dying people who were ready to just give up and embrace the void. It was a complete triumph of his will.
So this brings us to the 2 final paths, laid out plain as day. The logic of 0 offers you the terminal shudder, complete erasure, absence, a return to the inorganic, and a profound sense of peace. The logic of 1 offers the hourglass of becoming, radical responsibility, infinite life, being a light that creates its own source, and embracing the agonizing tension that comes from living with your eyes wide open.
And in the end, 2 very different fates play out. The people of the Abbey accept the Crimson Gift. They're peacefully reclaimed by the void, and their story is over. But the Wanderer, that sovereign spirit who chose the logic of 1, he proves a different kind of truth. By choosing to grow, to become, he makes sure his story never really ends.
And that brings us to the final, haunting question this story leaves us with. It forces us to really look at both of these paths and ask ourselves, what is true courage? Is it having the strength to finally let go and end the painful storm of existence? Or is it having the strength to look that storm right in the eye and say, bring it on, again, forever? That's a choice only you can make.